Good afternoon. I'm Natalie Rawson.
And I'm Samantha Thomas. We're here with a special report from Chapman News. Here is correspondent Olivia Young. Olivia?
For months, Chapman News has been investigating a story about one of the interterm travel courses offered by the university. Our report raises some serious questions. Take a look. It was supposed to be a retreat.
I remember in that moment just feeling like paralyzing fear.
It was a trip to discover enlightenment.
If I could go back and tell myself to not go, I would tell myself to not go.
A travel course to the Rocky Mountains that some say went wrong.
It's when it kind of clicked and wait, this whole trip has been not okay.
Every January, Chapman University offers a session called interterm. Students can use it as an extra month of break, take a class here on campus, or take a travel course. One travel course offered a Buddhist retreat in Colorado where students explore meditation, discussion, and contemplative arts. Barney McGrain is the Chapman professor who created the course in 1992.
It has its own life and its own magic, and the people that go on it are drawn to it for, something in them. It calls to them. There's a level of bonding that goes on that is just breathtaking.
The course takes place at the Shambhala Mountain Center in Red Feather Lakes, Colorado. Shambhala is an international Tibetan Buddhist community that aims to make enlightened society possible. But for the past 2 years, Shambhala has been under a cloud of suspicion. Shambhala's spiritual leader, Sakyong Mipam Rinpoche, stepped back from the organization in 2018 after being accused of multiple instances of sexual abuse. Then, allegations of misconduct at the very place students go on the interterm course. The Larimer County Sheriff's Department announcing in December of 2018 they were investigating possible criminal activity at the Shambhala Mountain Center. Students on the course say Chapman never told them about these allegations, so when they arrived at the Shambhala Mountain Center this past January, they had no idea about the center's history. It wasn't until some students Googled Shambhala that they learned of the allegations against its leader, then told other students on the course.
I actually didn't know until about 4 or 5 days into the trip when we were talking about it in the dorms.
Students then asked for a meeting with instructors to ask questions. But at that meeting, students said Shambhala instructors seemed to minimize the allegations against their leader, one instructor going even further.
She said that one of the victims her allegation ended up being false, and so, and that somehow made all the other 20 plus allegations also false.
At that point, everyone was kind of what? Wait, what's going on?
When questioned by Chapman News, Professor Barney McGrain expressed similar doubts about the validity of some of the claims.
Hey, someone jumps on the bandwagon. Me too, that, in a negative sense of me too, not in a positive sense.
As students continued with the course, they met Barry, a longtime Shambhala member hired by the Mountain Center to work with Chapman students in the interterm class.
He has a good sense of Dharma and the teachings and the practice. And he's very friendly and very, kind and loving, and has a soft spot for students.
But some students saw that soft spot a little differently.
I think his attitude resonated with us to an extent, but in hindsight, it was kind of predatory.
Students say it started small. Comments and behavior from Barry that they tried to laugh off.
If it was just a group of girls, he would tell everyone that he was going to take us to Las Vegas. Yeah. And we were like,
or we could stay with him.
Yeah, it was
Woodstock.
I didn't register as being weird until I realized that he wasn't saying that to any of the male students.
Someone had asked him about pictures from when he was younger, what he used
to like. Yeah.
And he was like, oh yeah, I'll show you. Do you want them with clothes or without?
What students described as disturbing behavior culminated in a particular incident at a talent show one of the last nights on the trip. The Chapman student involved wanted us to hide her face and name, but told us her story.
It began with him making comments about how beautiful I was, how exotic I looked, in my eyes, sexualizing me.
The student says Barry brought her on stage with him, then hugged her in a way that made her uncomfortable and began to sing what she describes as a racist song.
He's introducing me as his niece, and he's speaking in what I would assume is like a Puerto Rican accent.
Then the student said Barry whispered something in her ear.
Go into little girl mode. I remember in that moment just feeling like paralyzing fear.
The student says she felt trapped on stage with Barry, forced to dance for several minutes. We spoke to other Chapman students who were in the audience.
It was
I think
a long,
all of us
long
could
time.
see how uncomfortable she was.
But she was really shaking.
Yeah, I just was staring at the ground, was just
Yeah, you could just
what
tell
the
that she was
heck?
in shock.
Yeah.
I think that's when it kind of clicked and wait, this whole trip has been not okay.
Michael Gaynor, the director of Shambhala Mountain Center, was told of the incident and called a meeting with all of the students that evening.
At one point, I think Michael asked if anybody else had felt uncomfortable with Barry, and every girl in the room raised their hand.
Some students felt the meeting didn't properly acknowledge the harm done.
It's almost I hear you, but we believe in compassion and forgiveness.
The student at the center of the talent show incident says she felt so uncomfortable after the meeting that she made the decision to leave the trip early.
Our friend was just I can't stay here. I don't feel safe staying here. I feel betrayed.
Michael Gaynor told Chapman News that Shambhala Mountain Center conducted an internal investigation of the incident, which found there was misconduct on Barry's part. As a result, he will not be allowed to return to the center as an instructor in any capacity. We reached out to Barry himself for comment, and he responded saying none of the allegations against him were sexual. After he initially agreed to speak with us over the phone, subsequent attempts to reach him received no response. Back on Chapman's campus, students and professors began processing what had happened on the trip.
It's a wonderful time, it's beautiful, and then this happens, It's a slight poisoning of the whole thing.
It was really hard for me when I first came back.
The student says that she reported the incident to Professor Danny Smith and Associate Dean of Students Deanne Yoakum Gaffney. Dean Gaffney said that because of Title IX, she can't comment on specific incidents, but she did say that hypothetically there would be follow-up by the university if an incident were reported to her. Dean Gaffney also said that she wasn't aware of any investigation at the Mountain Center this past interterm, but she can't speak for other Chapman officials. The sociology department chair, the provost, and the Center for Global Education did not respond to numerous requests for comment.
I do not feel that I was heard, and I wish that the school had done more.
It happened, it's over with, it's done, and it's kind of then I walk into AF and there's a flyer for this year's, and it's just kind of what?
In a matter of weeks, Chapman students are heading back to the Shambhala Mountain Center for interterm 2020, a shock to students who went on the trip earlier this year.
We kind of made it clear that we shouldn't go back there.
It's not just one thing. It's not just the leader who's now, stepped down. It's not just Barry. It's there's so much going on.
And so much still coming to light. The Denver Post reporting in July of this year that internationally, Shambhala for decades suppressed allegations of abuse, from child molestation to clerical abuse. That same report alleging sexual assaults locally at the Shambhala Mountain Center and claiming that leadership there neglected reports of harm. The center acknowledged and apologized for this shortly after the report came out. Professor Barney McGrain said he doesn't have plans to specifically address the scandal within Shambhala or the incident on the last trip.
I'm not making it part of the curriculum.
But does say that he will invite past students to share their experience with the group going this time.
I think the fact that students would have to go out of their way to find out this information, it's thoughtless. It's keeping it quiet. It's keeping it pushed under the rug.
Dean Gaffney told Chapman News that Chapman would only send students back if it were assured that the setting would be free of any harassment or discrimination.
If I could go back and tell myself to not go, I would tell myself to not go, because it really broke my spirit that had happened to me.
Wow, what a powerful piece.
Absolutely, it's shocking. Will students be safe going back to the Shambhala Mountain Center this year?
Well, on the one hand, Barry himself is gone, and when I spoke to Michael Gaynor, he confirmed that the center is working on staff trainings for being an active bystander, as well as updating their code of conduct policy. But on the other hand, when I reached out to the Larimer County Sheriff's Department, they confirmed that that investigation into possible criminal activity at the Shambhala Mountain Center is still active, but no arrests have been made.
Wow, so all of these investigations and nobody's been charged yet, right?
So right, at the Shambhala Mountain Center, no charges yet. However, a few hours away in Boulder, Colorado, 2 former Shambhala instructors are facing charges of sexually assaulting children that they met through the community, and one of them pleading not guilty just 2 weeks ago.
Wow. Thank you so much, Olivia.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, this has been a special report from Chapman News.